Hey, you're listening to episode number 25 of the Everything Ham Radio podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Field Day, recap of my experience with Field Day 2016, as well as talking to a couple local hams and talking a little bit about how we're doing so far. We still have a couple hours left of Field Day at the time of this recording, but we're going to see how we're doing so far. So, let's get started, shall we? Hey everybody, welcome to the Everything Ham Radio podcast. This is episode number 24, and we're doing a Field Day recap for Field Day 2016. You can find the show notes for this episode at everythinghamradio.com/podcast/24. That's the number 24. This podcast is released every Tuesday morning. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/everythinghamradio. And you can follow me on Twitter at K5CLM. So let's get started today. So, unfortunately, I had to work yesterday, and I have to work today. So I didn't get a whole lot of time at Field Day, unfortunately. I didn't even actually get on the radio. I left work about 4 o'clock, and after my errands were run, I made it to our Field Day site about 5:15, 5:30 or so, and I had to leave by 7. And while I was there, I wanted to get a couple of interviews of some people that were there with their experience in Field Day and with their experience with ham radio and a couple other questions. So we're going to have Ken Bush, KB5YBI, who is the Johnson County, Texas ARRL Emergency Coordinator. And we're also going to be talking with Keith Buechler, KE5AWF. So that'll be just a little bit here. We'll listen to those things. But as far as my experience goes, I've done several field days, and unfortunately, it's been a few years since I actually got to participate greatly in them. But I went there yesterday. The location that we set up was our Emergency Operations Center. So we were operating 3 Foxtrot, and we had 3 stations and a GOTA station, which is the Get on the Air station. We were operating under the call sign of Kilo Yankee 5 Oscar, so KY50, extra class. We got some contacts by the time that was there. We had been operating for like 4 or 5 hours. We had gotten, I think, something like about 45, 50 contacts at the time. We were having some issues with the bands, and we were having an issue with one of our antennas. We had a beam that we put up, and it was not tuning right at all. I mean, it was way, way bad on the SWRs on several of the frequencies. I mean, it worked fine on 10 meters, and it worked fine on right around 62 megahertz. But that didn't help us very much, especially since it was a 10, 15, 20, 40 meter Yagi. So yeah, we had to do some readjustments around 7, 8 o'clock or so, and I don't know if they got them. I'm sure they probably did. I know they were going to get another long wire to get that third radio back up and running real good. So I am waiting on the current contact count. It is 7 a.m. on Sunday morning right now when I'm recording this. I'm waiting on our current count of contacts. I did speak with somebody there, and they said it's well over 100 right now. So they've done fairly well overnight. Not the greatest, but we'll see what the count is so far, and hopefully in the show notes I'll have our preliminary total contact count. But yeah, so I think first off, let's talk with. We're going to talk with Ken Bush. Like I said, Ken Bush, KB5YBI. He is the ARRL EC for Johnson County, Texas. So here he is. Hey everybody, this is Curtis, K5CLM here with Everything Ham Radio Podcast. We're here with Ken Bush, KB5YBI. And Ken, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everybody. Like Curtis said, my name is Ken, KB5YBI. I've been licensed since January 1993.
Wow.
So, working on a couple of years now, a couple of renewals. Been interested in radio for many years, and took me a while to get into it, but finally did, along with a couple of friends, and have been enjoying it ever since. A lot of public service events, severe weather, and just a lot of fun. I've met a lot of good people and had some interesting situations over the years.
So you said you and a couple of friends started it. How did you actually get started in amateur radio? What piqued your interest?
Well, I've heard about it. I had a couple of old 3-channel walkie-talkies when I was a kid. Had the Morse code button on it and all that, and me and my brother used to play on that. I don't know, I was about 10, 12. My dad had to put a CB in the car when we traveled on vacation. And then we moved around, and so I'd heard of radio and knew some other people that did. And this buddy that I grew up with, went to church, went to school with, and we used to run CBs, and we kept saying one of these days we'd get our ham ticket, and it took us a couple of years, but we finally did it. We got them about the same time.
So you and your brother are both hams?
No, my brother isn't. It's just my friend.
Just your friend, okay.
I have got everybody in the household. All my wife and all 4 kids are licensed now.
Oh, how'd you do that? I need to know your secret. I've been working on my wife now for 3 or 4 years, and she keeps telling me no. What's your secret?
A lot of persistence, and before we got into them, my wife wanted the cell phone. I told her all she needed was a radio. She could contact me. And I finally told her if she would get her license, I'd find a way to pay for a cell phone. She gave a cell phone, so she took hers. Oldest daughter, we just hung out when she was a baby. She was just a year old when I got my license. And so I'd sit around the house talking on the HT. She'd use the remote control for the TV or a hairbrush, whatever, and mimic everything I did. So when she was 8, she studied and got her license.
So she's 8 and she got it?
She was 8 years old. She's 24 now.
Wow.
So she's been licensed a while herself. Then my oldest son and youngest daughter got their license October 2 or 3 years ago now. And then my youngest son got his back in February. He was 11. He's now 12. But he was the last one to do it, and he's here operating field day with us.
Cool. So you're KB5, and you got your license how long ago?
January 1993.
So 2003, like 23 years ago, you've been a ham now?
Just a little over.
And he got his this year, so what's his call sign?
Let me get this right. He is KG5 LOP.
KG5.
So from KB to KGs in 23 years.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think you got yours a couple years before I did. I think I got mine in '95, something like that. So you get a couple years experience on me. And you are an extra class, correct?
Yes.
When did you upgrade to that?
Well, when my daughter got her license when she was 8, we were working on the code, getting my code speed up to upgrade. And a couple of guys that were doing on their practice kept telling me go ahead and go get the general, so that we could get off the 40-meter band at night and stuff and get into different areas. So I took my general. I studied and took my general test when she took her tech. And like many of the VEs, knew the old boy that was doing the test real well. I passed the general. He told me he wouldn't let me get up in the desk. He turned around and had me an extra class. And
so you went from tech to extra all in one sitting?
All in one sitting.
Wow.
That was, well, let's see, like she's 24, she was 8 then, so 16 years ago, been an extra for 16 years. I still haven't read the extra class book.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Well, I got a 2-year electronics degree. It cost me $20,000 to get that extra class.
I think I'll stick with the $25 book.
The $25 book's cheaper. But
So what else do you do in the hobby?
Well, actually, I've always enjoyed working the parades and bike rides, and I highly recommend those. It's very good experience and training. I swear by it on the point that when the shuttle disaster happened with Columbia back in 2003, me and another friend here in the area, John, KD5SFA, went down to Nacogdoches and worked with the teams out in the wilderness and the pastures, and carried multiple radios, multiple frequencies, you've worked enough of these events where you're out on the sidewalk or on the road. You don't realize how easy it becomes to listen to multiple conversations. You know what your radios are capable of. You know what your range are. So knowing those type of things was invaluable. And I learned and practiced and developed all that through working the bike rides, parades, marathons, and that type of thing with the community service events. So I think they're very good training. I encourage them a whole lot.
Absolutely. So are you involved with the Skywarn and Aries and stuff like that too?
No, that's one of the fun parts of it. Been a field spotter for many years. I am now the ARRLEC for Johnson County, Texas, and so with that, I wind up doing a lot of the coordinating. I'm normally in the EC now, running the radio, being net control, and it's getting interesting and it's its own challenge. But sometimes I miss being out in the field too.
Yeah.
But yeah,
sitting in four walls and no windows and hearing all this stuff, it doesn't get very fun sometimes.
Hey, you want to go out and look, especially when you start beating on the roof. And you're like, hey, wait a minute, what's here? So we've got a great team here in Johnson County. It's developed really well. They do a great job of making reports and staying up to date. And we're using a call down system, so we make one call, activates everybody. And the team has developed really well and is recognized by surrounding counties that are listening to us and depending on us for reports now. So I'm just lucky to be part of it.
So, you say you're here at the Emergency Operations Center. When you do that, are you involved with the EOC any other way?
Well, I worked part-time for them for 2 years as an assistant coordinator. It was a second job alongside my full-time night shift job. But I had to give that up about 3 years ago, just too many irons in the fire. But I'm still involved in, they call me their full-time communications guy. So we helped, when the building was built here about 4 years ago, the gentleman that was coordinator at that time and we ran all the coax and we got the club together and they bought us a tower and we stood it up and built all the antennas. We're running, 6 J-pole dual band antennas on it and a 40-meter wire at this time. We ran all the coax, built the antennas and all that ourselves, and we still maintain all that. So I come down there and do exercises and stuff with them, but it's not a full-time job anymore. It's just I'm considered a long-term volunteer.
Yeah.
So whatever they need, generally any kind of communication stuff, they call us.
Very awesome. So, what's your favorite radio?
I'm a Kenwood fan. I always have been. Get the name Ken in it, it's got to be good, right?
Exactly.
Well, that's my story. I'm sticking with it. Goodness, I've had a lot of them. The first several radios I had were Kenwood HTs, and I've had a couple of Kenwood dual band mobiles that have been outstanding radios. My HF rig, the only one I have right now, is a ICOM 706, original model. I've had an ICOM 735 that I ran in the mobile for a while years ago. Had a Yaesu FT101 was my first HF rig I ever had. It's a 101EX. And regret selling that one. That was a sweet radio. So I've got several of them. I got Linkos. I got a couple of the new Bailfang handhelds. Those are cheap. I bought the kids all one of those when they got licensed. Mm-hmm. It was a good first radio.
Absolutely.
So favorite's Kenwood, but I've used all of them. I like them.
So you got Kenwood, you got ICOM, you got a couple of the Chinese radios. Do you have any Yaesus right now?
Yes, as a matter of fact, my main handheld I use is VX6 and have a Linko, a DJG5 dual band that's real good. Got an old Lady I. Just bought a new Yaesu Fusion digital repeater. We've got a 440 pair that been off that older gentleman passed away, and they asked us to take over here in the county club. So we're putting a Fusion repeater on that one. That would be on 443.750. We're running a Kenwood MTR on our main frequency, the 145.490. So there's another 440 Fusion repeater in the county, 444.000. So, we're not picky with them.
Yeah, I think we actually have quite a few System Fusion repeaters here in the county now. I know of 5. I think.
I think at least 5 of them. Yeah.
We have the 444.000. The 443125 is Fusion. The 14722 is Fusion. Is your 49 repeater, is that Fusion or is that still in the
No,
Kenwood?
that's the Kenwood. It's a good system. We're not going to change it right now. But I know they have one nearby. It's 443775, I believe. No, it's 443700 is Fusion.
And that one's up in Mansfield, correct?
Burleson.
Burleson.
The 443775 is Mansfield. And I think they went Fusion on that one. I don't remember.
So that's 6.
Yeah, so...
So yeah, we're a Fusion county, I think.
Getting there quickly.
Yeah.
We've got a guy that's real good with the Wires X set up on them and has got them linked up and rooms on them, is doing a lot of training. He even did a presentation at HamCom earlier this month, which is a big ham fest up in Irving. And so we're still learning with them, but having a lot of fun.
Very good. So if there's any one piece of advice, and I know you kind of touched on one of them here a little earlier, but if there's one piece of advice that you could give to any, especially new ham radio operator, or maybe somebody that hadn't been in the hobby for a while, what would that advice be?
Have fun. If somebody tells you can't do it, find a way. Learn your basic antenna stuff and learn how to do it cheap. Find you some wire, play and experiment with it, and just have fun with it. There's so many different things. There's something for everybody in ham radio, whether it's the digital or the analog. But I enjoy building antennas. I encourage you to get out, get you an antenna book, talk to some people, build your own antennas. It's fun to get up and talk on the antenna that you build. But practice your techniques and how to do it, and just enjoy it. It's a fun hobby.
On the flip side of that, is there anything that you would tell somebody not to do?
Don't get so caught up in the do's and don'ts that you lose the focus of what the radio's about. It's for emergency communications. 90% of the time we're doing general chit chat and having fun, but always remember what it's there for, and don't get so caught up in the have-tos and the don'ts and the professional, it has to be this way, has to be that way, technical stuff. Don't lose yourself in it. Like I said, experiment and have fun with it. You can get so strict on you'll have to do it this way and have to do it that way, till you make it more of a chore than a hobby.
Very good advice. Very good. Thank you very much. So before we close out, is there anything else that you want to say? Any shout outs you want to give to anybody, or anything like that?
Oh, you can go on a long list of that. We appreciate you running this blog. It's been fun to watch this grow with you the last couple of years and see it on Facebook all the time. Like I said, my weather team, emergency communication team here in Johnson County has just done a great job, grown tremendously the last few years. I'm happy to be part of that. They do such a great job and keep everything up to date and make good reports. It's just fun to be part of it. But yeah, we have several guys here, Matt and Kevin, that keep the repeaters up and running and keep us updated on technology. The OC, our coordinator here, Jamie, is great to work with us, keep things set up. It's just, could probably make a long list and go on for a while, but basically just the whole group here in the county has served the county very well, and proud to be part of the team.
Good. Well, Ken, thank you for allowing me to talk with you a little bit here. We're here at Field Day 2016 at the Johnson County Emergency Operations Center in Cleburne, Texas. We're currently running a 3 Foxtrot station. We are 3 Foxtrot North Texas, and we're running the call sign Kilo Yankee 5 Oscar. So if you hear us on, this will be out after Field Day is over, but if you heard us on the air and you talked to us, that would be it. That would be us here. Unfortunately, I was not able to get on the radio on the Field Day event, but I did come down here and get some good conversations in. So, Ken, thank you very much for allowing this to happen, and thank you for all your hard work that you do.
My pleasure. Appreciate you keeping this up and taking time to brag on us a little bit. Get in there and get on the radio before you go home.
I'll do my best. And this is K5CLM with the Everything Ham Radio podcast. And we're back. This is Curtis again with Everything Ham Radio. Thank you very much, Ken, for the interview. I think it is a very awesome experience to be able to participate in the field day. If you have not participated or you were unable to participate this year, definitely do your best to try and make it to field day next year. It is a very thrilling and exciting event. When you get several stations piled up trying to make contact with you, or you're trying to make contact through a pile up or something like that, it is very exhilarating, especially when you make it through everybody else or you contact that distant station. So definitely, if you have not participated in field day, please do. If you were able to get with field day this year, please head over to the show notes and leave a comment. Let me know how your field day went, what y'all operated, about how many contacts y'all made, what was your farthest contact that you made. Let me know. Let me know how your field day went. So before we get on to our next interview with Keith, KE5AWF, we're going to do the ARRL Field Day Public Service Announcement one more time for the year. So here we go.
For over 100 years, radio has been at the forefront of new technology. Ham radio operators around the world will have their annual Field Day event June 25th and 26th. Field Day is the national open house of amateur radio, and you are invited. Come be a part of the science, skill, and service ham radio brings to your community. Find a Field Day site near you at www.arrl.org/fieldday.
All right, and we're back. And, I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. They made a really neat little public service announcement there. I actually just found all these public service announcements that the ARRL's put out, and I'm probably going to be including some of them in my podcast for future broadcasts. So, okay, let's move on to Keith, KE5AWF. Hey everybody, we're back. This is Curtis with Keith Buechler, KE5AWF, correct? Keith, why don't you introduce yourself, say hello, and tell us a little about yourself.
Hey everybody, like Curtis said, Keith Buechler is my name, call sign KE5AWF, from Keene, Texas, and I actually work for the university in Keene. I'm the network administrator there at Southwestern Adventist University. And right now we're working field day at the Johnson County Emergency Operations Center.
Oh, that's awesome. What classification are y'all working this year?
We are working 3 Foxtrot.
So you're working at the EOC then?
Correct.
Awesome. So do y'all have a go-to station too?
We do, and we have it setting up. We have an extra class call on it, Kilo Golf 5 Delta Delta X-Ray. And we are letting anybody who wants to come in and get on the air, that's what it stands for, get on the air station. And we're letting them have some fun. We've already had one person that's gotten 7 contacts on their go-to station.
That sounds awesome. We are 5.5 hours into it. So what kind of contacts are we getting?
We're getting several CW contacts, couple 40-meter. The bands aren't really playing nice with us right now, and we're trying to figure out what's going on. Looks like we might have one bad antenna, so we might be changing that out for a wire. But otherwise, we're doing voice and CW, and we have some packet stuff that we're going on. We're doing some PSK31, and we're seeing what we can do there.
That sounds great. What call sign are you using for your regular stations?
Regular stations are going through KY50.
Very good. So what got you interested in amateur radio?
When I was in Pathfinders as a youth, our entire youth group got involved in ham radio, and that's kind of how we used communication in the club. We would just, everybody would have ham radio operators and have the radios with them, and we'd use that to communicate. And we did a class, and most of the people in my class at the time, we ended up getting licensed and been involved in amateur radio ever since.
That was how long ago?
2004. was when my initial license was, and then I upgraded. I forget when I upgraded to general.
And you are working on your extra class now, I see.
Correct.
When are you going to take that test?
Hopefully tomorrow.
And you're going to ace it, right?
Hopefully. We have. I've gotten involved with the emergency operations office, and we do all the Skywarn nets out of here, and I'm involved with running net control for those, and yeah, just like to take amateur radio and use it for what we can.
Well, that sounds awesome. It sounds like you have a full plate, and I understand you're also still a student as well?
Yeah, I decided to go back for my master's degree. Currently working on a master's in cybersecurity and information assurance, and that's being fun with all the challenges that it entails.
So you have your bachelor's in computer science, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you're going back for your master's in cyber
Security.
You're a general class licensee, working on your extra. Hopefully by this time tomorrow you'll have your extra class license.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you do? Do you have any free time to do anything else?
Oh, a little. A little here and there. When I'm wanting to have fun, I go take the motorcycle out for a ride.
One of three, right?
One of two.
You've downgraded now, okay.
I'll go to the gun range, go have some fun there. Like to play with my long-range firearms and have some fun there, but it gets a little expensive.
Well, with any good hobby, it gets kind of expensive, especially with amateur radio, guns, motorcycles, professional student. It sounds like you have a full plate. Do you have wife, kids, anything like that?
No, I'm a single guy right now, so I'm living the bachelor life at the moment, getting all the fun out of the way, I guess.
Lucky. I mean, yeah. So we have general class license. You're a student. You are a network administrator for a major university. You assist with emergency operations. What else am I missing? Is there anything else that you do?
I think that sums it up.
Sounds like
I've known you for a long time.
Yeah, I think I actually gave you your test, did I not?
Think you did.
Yeah, that was like 11 years ago now, 12 years ago now. So
I've had to renew my license, so it's been at least 10.
yeah, well, I think I've known Keith. Good gravy, I've called him Ken like 3 times now. I've known Keith now for most of my life, or most of his life, anyways. We've become good friends, and I've seen him grow over the past 24 years.
25
25 years
next year or next month.
Wow, makes me feel old. But yeah, man, I just cannot get that right. He's gonna slap me here. If y'all could see the look on his face every time I say Ken, y'all would be like, okay, get out of the room, just go on. But no,
He has justification for it. Since we're at the EOC, we correlate that with Ken Bush, KB5YBI, and so he has a little bit of a give there for saying Ken. Otherwise, I'd be smacking him.
so it's a somewhat of a compliment at least.
Okay, we'll go with that.
So what all do we have? Tell us a little bit about what we're working here with your 3 stations. Do y'all have each radio set for an individual band, or y'all just kind of skipping around and hoping that nobody's on the same band, or how is that working?
We're basically coordinating it by, hey, what are you on? And we're flipping to another one. But we're not really anybody working the same mode. We've got one person working PSK, one person working voice, and one person working CW at the moment. So we can pretty much hop bands and not be on top of each other right now. I think we might be switching to 2 radios running voice here in a bit. And at that point, we'll have to make sure we're coordinating bands a little more. But otherwise, yeah.
So what kind of radios are we working with here?
We've got two FT990s and an 857D.
So 2 Yaesus and
All three Yaesus, actually.
all 3 Yaesus? Okay. What kind of antennas are we working on?
The ones that are working are wires. We've got a beam that's giving us issues, but all of our wires are working pretty well. We've got a V wire at 40 feet, another wire strung off of a temporary tower, and we've got another wire hanging off of our CASA radar tower, actually.
Very good. So even though we are working the Foxtrot classification, are we doing emergency power or are we using commercial?
We are using commercial power. The generators here kick on only if we're needed or during testing, so we're just running off of emergency power, and yeah, hopefully we don't trip any breakers.
So have y'all been able to get any bonus points?
I don't know. I haven't really looked at it yet.
Any elected officials stop by, or I know we have the multimedia or the social media bonus. I do remember seeing several posts on Facebook about the field day this year, and we got some off the GOTA station.
Right, we've got the GOTA station. I don't think any elected officials have stopped by. We have been posting on social media, Instagram and Facebook, but I haven't seen
Any press releases, or
not that I've seen.
so somebody's kind of dropped the ball a little bit on the bonus points. That sounds kind of
Well, I
like.
just saw Ken walk in. Maybe we can ask him.
Well, Keith, I think that about will wrap it up. Thank you very much for talking with me today. And is there anything else that you want to say before we wrap it up?
No, not really. Unless you're going to post this before the 24-hour deadline, in which I'd say, hey, come on out and get on the air.
No, it's actually going out this Tuesday morning, so unfortunately it'll be kind of a wrap-up thing. So with that, guys, we'll go ahead and close this interview, and I think I have one other person that I want to get before I have to go home to go to bed, since I have to get up at 4 o'clock. So this is Curtis, K5CLM, with Keith, KE5AWF, and this is the Everything Ham Radio Podcast.
All right, everybody, we're back. Thank you, Keith, and thank you, Ken, for those interviews. Greatly appreciated, and I hope y'all have fun on the remainder of field day. It is now 8 a.m., and we have, 5 hours left or so until field day is over with. Hopefully, y'all are having a great time and making some good contacts. Unfortunately, I'm not. I'm stuck here at work, so that really sucks. One of these days, though. One of these days. So anyways, let's move on a little bit. We've got a couple more things to talk about. Again, like I have many times in the past, I want to give a shout out to my wife's blog. My wife recently, it's been about almost 2 months ago now, I guess, started a blog. It's called More Than Safe. And it's about our journey through the foster care system. Dealing with situations that come up, talking about some of our kids that we've had, and general parenting advice, stuff like that. So if any of y'all are interested in foster care or are parents and are looking for some advice or whatever, head on over to her blog. You can find it at morethansafe.com, and there will be a link in the show notes for that. Also, I want to remind everybody that if you like what you hear here on this podcast and what you read on my blog, this stuff for me is not free. For y'all, it's going to be free, for as long as I can keep it that way. I don't have any plans of charging for this content that I provide. So, but that being said, it does cost money. It does cost money for me. Hosting, email hosting, the hosting for my podcast, all that costs money, which is something that I gladly will pay. However, if you so choose to make a contribution to help offset those costs, there's a couple ways you can do it. First, at the bottom of the show notes, you can make a one-time donation through PayPal, and I'll get it that way. You can also go to a relatively new service that I found called Patreon. Patreon allows you to set different subscription levels, and it'll be like a monthly reoccurring thing. I currently have set at $1, $5, $10, and $25 a month. I've had a couple people suggest I do it per podcast episode, but I'm just not sure which way that I want to go. I'm trying to think on that. So if you feel so inclined to either do the one-time donation or through Patreon, that would greatly be appreciated. You can also go through my Amazon store. If you go to everythinghamradio.com/support, you can find links for both the Patreon and the PayPal donation, as well as my Amazon.com store that you can buy through. So, if you so feel inclined to assist, those are three ways you can do it. So if you don't mind, if you want to, or you just feel so inclined to, I greatly appreciate that, and thank you very much. All right, so our Amateur Radio Club spotlight for this episode is going to be on my Field Day Station Club, the Johnson County Aries team. You can find their website at aresjctx.org. That's aresjctx.org. Links will be in the show notes of this episode. We have meetings on the fourth Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. at the Johnson County Emergency Operations Center, located at 810 East Kilpatrick in Cleburne, Texas. We have a weekly training net that is on Sundays, starting at 7:30 p.m., and is on the 145.49 repeater. It does have a PL tone of 88.5. The training nets normally, originally, they started about, like 15, 20 minutes, like some of the other nets that we have in the county. But the last probably year or so, it seems like the net has just exploded. And, it's normally like an hour and a half that our net is going on. So there's a lot of really good information. We have several clubs here in the county that all kind of get together on this net and do like reminders and announcements and stuff like that. So, so if you are interested in it, you can also check in wherever you are through WireX. If you have a Yaesu System Fusion repeater, you can connect to the KY50 repeater, the 444.0. I don't know what the node of it is. I will try and include it in the show notes for this episode. But yeah, you can connect to it and check in on our nets on Sunday night. So if you have a System Fusion repeater somewhere close to you and you feel so inclined to do that, check in on our nets and maybe you'll hear me, K5CLM. Alrighty, so that brings it pretty much into this episode. We are running a little bit long, but I think we had a pretty good episode. Sorry about that cough. If it came over, I tried to mute my mic. All right, so let's wrap it up. So thanks again for listening to this podcast, the Everything Ham Radio podcast. Again, it is released every Tuesday morning for your viewing pleasure. I hope it's for your viewing pleasure. Anyways, I hope that you like my podcast. I work really hard on this, and I have fun doing it, so I hope that you all do it. Of course, if you didn't like it, then you wouldn't be listening to it. So, thank y'all, each and every one of y'all, for listening. You can find the show notes for this episode at everythinghamradio.com/podcast/24. You can also find me on Facebook if you'd like to follow me there at everythinghamradio at facebook.com/everythinghamradio. I'm on Twitter at K5CLM. You can find me on StumbledUpon, LinkedIn, and Google+. Links to those can be found in the menu bar under social on the website. So if you want to do that, head on over there and you can get the links to that. Thank you all, everybody, for listening, and until next week, this is K5CLM signing off.